Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. Welcome to today's episode of Hey You're Not Getting Fucked. I'm your host, Louis Rossman. I want to talk about how the EPA issued guidance recently that reaffirms federal law on this channel and that farmers do have the ability to fix their own stuff, should have the ability to fix their own stuff, and that when the manufacturer tries to come up with excuses like emissions, that these are indeed excuses and they are not supported by federal law. So you'll hear from many dealerships as well as John Deere themselves when they're lobbying against right to repair that we want people to fix their own things, but those damn emissions laws, we can't let anybody fix a tractor, because if we let the owners of the tractor or other independent technicians be able to have access to this, they're going to tamper with the emission stuff. That's the whole point of it. They don't really care about fixing things. They just want to get around the emission standards. And you'll see people that have these shops like DPF. DPF is diesel particulate filter. If you have a giant diesel truck, there's a bunch of stuff in it so that there's less black smog and shit that comes out the tailpipe of it. And those systems can break. When they break, they can be expensive to fix. So there are some people out there that want to get around that system because they don't really care if they're adding to the pollution of the world so much as getting a $4,000 or $20,000 repair bill for the system on whether it's a light truck or a very large tractor. And the problem here is that this excuse has been used to limit repairs across the board for a number of different people for a number of very different expensive products. And what the manufacturer will say is, listen, we want to give you the ability to fix your stuff, but the damn EPA, they care so much about the emissions, and we don't want to get in trouble. Please, I don't want to get in trouble. Don't pass right to repair. And the reality that I've gone over on this channel many times over and over again is I will read the federal law myself, and I did so in January of 2023, 3 years ago, to show you that these people are all full of shit. This is 42 U.S. Code Section 7521, emission standards for new motor vehicles or new motor vehicle engines. Information availability. The administrator, by regulation, shall require manufacturers to provide promptly to any person engaged in the repairing or servicing of motor vehicles or motor vehicle engines, and the administrator for any use by any such persons with any and all information needed to make use of the emissions control diagnostic systems prescribed in this subsection, and such other information, including instructions for making emissions-related diagnostics and repairs. No such information may be withheld under Section 7542C of this title if that information is provided directly or indirectly by the manufacturer or franchise dealers or other persons engaged in the repair, diagnosing, or servicing of motor vehicles or motor vehicle engines. Such information shall also be available to the administrator, subject to Section 7542C of this title, in carrying out the administrator's responsibilities under this section. You see over here it says any person, not just the dealer authorized or certified repair centers. And when you take a look at this other section of the law, what actions does this regulation prohibit? This prohibition does not apply in any of the following situations. Number one, you need to repair the engine and equipment and to restore it to the proper functioning when the repair is complete. 2, you need to modify the engine or equipment to respond to a temporary emergency and you restore it to proper functioning as soon as possible. 3, you modify new engines or equipment that another manufacturer is already certified to meet emission standards and recertify under your own family. So let's say that you are a farmer and John Deere is not able to send out their service technician for 2 weeks, but you need to get your harvest working right fucking now. Not only does this say that John Deere cannot hold this equipment from you because you want to repair your own stuff under emissions law. Forget about that. They actually allow you to temporarily modify this so that the emission system is not necessarily function the way it's supposed to if there is a temporary emergency. And I would suggest that having a functioning food supply in our country might qualify as a temporary emergency when the manufacturer or the dealer says that there's a 2-week wait time and you need to get things done right now. Now, if you take a look at the EPA's most recent guidance, the EPA actually agrees with this and they have come out with a letter affirming this. So this comes from the Assistant Administrator for Air and Radiation. This comes from the Environmental Protection Agency. It says, we understand that some manufacturers have interpreted the Clean Air Act's prohibition on tampering as prohibiting manufacturers from facilitating repairs by third parties. If the repairs require a temporary disablement of the selective catalytic reduction and inducement strategy or other elements of the emission control system. The CAA, in fact, anticipates that it may be necessary to disable an element of the emission control system to effectuate a repair, and it's clear that such an action is not a prohibited act when it is for the purposes of repair, and such action thereafter results in the proper functioning of the device. They're being very clear. The EPA is saying stop using us as a scapegoat to stop your customers from fixing shit. And regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, regardless of what you think about diesel particulate filters and cities being cleaner as a result of tailpipes not having these emissions, or whether or not a farmer should or should not be allowed to have emissions in their own cornfield, there is one thing that I think we can all agree on is that John Deere does not give 2 shits of a fuck about climate change, about air quality, about any of this. When they are restricting repair in this way, they're using this as a shield because they want to be able to make more money off of fixing your stuff. This is what it comes down to. The CEO of John Deere, the board of directors at John Deere, is not sitting there going, "Oh no, the cornfield is going to have a bigger cloud in it in Nebraska. Oh no, I'm going to be able to see that from my beautiful ranch in Montana, and it's going to bother me." They don't care about the emissions, and they never did. This was law when Obama was president, when Trump was president, when Biden was president, and it is still the law right now. And it's about time somebody came out and said, this is the fucking law. Stop scapegoating us for the fact that you don't want customers to fix things. And one of the silver linings, again, if you're going to have an EPA that thinks that climate change is a meme, if you're going to have an EPA that is allowing coal plants to apply for exemptions for limits on the mercury that they put out, which may not, I don't think that's a good thing. But if you're going to have that, at the very least, can we have the silver lining of not saying that we are limiting repairs because of emission? Do not give John Deere the license to pretend that they give two shits of a fuck about emissions or climate change or any of this, because they don't and they never did. I want to live in a clean world. I want to live in a world where there is not smog everywhere that I go. At the same time, there's a difference between that and then just allowing John Deere to bend everybody over so that their stock price can go up. And we need to find that healthy middle. It's completely possible to care about emissions and pollution in your community while simultaneously understanding that everything that comes out of John Deere's mouth is a giant pile of scamming shit. Because you'll see in my comments people saying like, oh yeah, all this stuff is just a scam, none of it matters. It's just all green scam. And then other people that really care about it. And again, this is one of the things that I have a problem with in my life, both in my business life and my personal life. It's very difficult for me sometimes to find the healthy middle, to find the rational, wise mind here. I'm over here or I'm over here. And yes, you do not want to have a world that looks like what it looked like in the 70s when you're looking at these pictures of all the smog and downtown traffic in LA versus what it looks like now with modern cars. But John Deere is also full of shit at the same time, and we can process this together. And I'm glad to see that we're starting. There's a gentleman that talks about this type of stuff all the time. His name is Jared Wilson. I've had him on the channel once back in 2023. He's a great human being, and I hope that he starts a channel to talk more about this. You'll see him come up in the news a lot if you Google his name. He's much more knowledgeable about this than I am, and if you have any particular questions, leave them in the comments, and I'm actually going to reach out to him with any of your questions to see if he wants to discuss this, because I think he's a respectable guy, and he is much more informed in this particular subsect than I am. I can talk for days and days about consumer electronics, but with agricultural equipment. Leave some questions if you got him. I'd love to forward them to him. He's a good dude, and it would be fun to have him on again. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.